Hello beer tubers and welcome to another on the road video with me, Peter, the master of hoppers. I'm on the beautiful island of Bornholm and today we're visiting Penyllan and beer here. And I'm here with Jess from Penyllan. Jess is the barrel mistress, right?
I like to say barrel mistress, yes.
Yes. And you do the whole Penyllan, Penyllan series of beers.
Penyllan, you're right.
And as you might see on the layover footage, we just popped something really cool. With this bad boy.
Obviously, I have my beautiful axe. Some people like to saber. I like to axe. It's so much more fun, as long as I'm very confident, which most of the time I am. And I have to say, I got it right this time, which was very nice. So.
First try. Perfect.
First try, just poof. I know, because when everyone's watching, you get a bit, oh God, am I going to do it okay? Am I going to do it okay? But no, today it was perfect, so yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about the beer you just opened?
Yeah, definitely. So this is the beautiful Elisa here. So she's a 2018 vintage. So as in the base beer, the main base beer from this was brewed back in 2018. And then I released this last year. I actually released it first at the Heartland Festival because Elisa, who I named it after, was there. And so I surprised her by having that as one of the beers. Of course, there was tears and all this sort of stuff. But this is a really fun one because it's one of the collaborations I do with Rie from North Schnapps. She brews with a lot of these.
Here on the island?
Yes, so this is over in Nexu. And she makes these lovely spirits, a lot of them with Bornholmsk ingredients. So I have the beer that I named after her, which is made with Bornholmsk oak and caramelized apples from the island, where this particular one, she makes a berry snaps, which is almost like a liqueur, and it's made with raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, and cherries. And so she has them on the alcohol for a short amount of time, and then when she takes them off, I get all that drunken fruit afterwards. And so I put an already few aged beer on top of that drunken fruit, aged it for another year, and then packaged it at the end of the year before last, and then released it 6 months later at Heartland for Elisa. Nice. So it's a really fun one because if you have a little taste, it's good.
It's good. Ooh, I smell strawberry instantly.
That's the really fun one I love about this, is because everyone gets a different fruit up front.
I'm getting loads of strawberry.
Loads of strawberry, yeah, exactly. Because the funny thing is that I'm like, oh no, I think raspberry. And so I really love showing it to people because some people will have a little taste of it and go, oh, it's just all I can taste is raspberry, or all I can taste is strawberry. And so it's really fun because obviously everyone's palate is tuned slightly differently, and so everyone gets something slightly different out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lovely one.
Yeah, and so far, what you've released here takes so long time.
Oh.
So this is really a labor of love.
It is a labor of love.
What are the oldest barrels you have sitting in?
I still actually have barrels that I brewed back in 2015. Most of those ones I'll actually be packaging this year. There's a couple that I will be keeping to see what happens. And there's a couple that I'm still actually playing with. But yeah, so this year I'll be packaging beers still that I brewed back from 2015. Wow. So there's not many of them left now. Now it's getting up to the 16s and 17s. But it's really fun to have those really old ones, and it's incredible to watch how they're still developing. Because with the Penyllan beers and because of that wild yeast, you never really know what's going to happen. It's it might take a year and a half, it might take 8 years. And so it is one of those ones I'm just always tasting, and when it's ready, I have to, we were talking about before, I have to have the confidence to say, yes, this beer is ready, it's ready now, and then decide what to do with it. Like say if it's going to be a beer, like sometimes I have a single barrel that is just perfect by itself, or sometimes I have like a beer that I'm like, oh, do you know what? I've got these 2 barrels, they're exactly the same, same batch, same barrels and everything, but I think I need a little bit more sweetness in them, or a little bit more bitterness or sourness or whatever, and then I get to blend and play.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So
how did you end up walking this path? Because as far as I remember, part of your original career has been in some design.
Yeah,
work,
I used
right?
to be a lingerie designer. So I used to
Lingerie
design
to beer.
really, really beautiful underwear. And I've decided now, because I absolutely love underwear, so I've actually decided that I'm definitely going to do Penyllan and beer here underwear at some stage, mainly so I can write off underwear as a tax write-off, because it would be research.
Ah, right.
Yeah, so I'm working on this one. But no, so I used to be an underwear designer. But then I also used to work in hospitality and wine for many years. And I grew up, my uncle had a vineyard as well. And so, you know, wine was a big part of my life. And I was actually working in fashion in Belgium back in 2010. And my sister and brother-in-law really wanted to open up a beer-focused restaurant. And I know how to run restaurants, and they didn't. And so they said, oh, is there any chance when you finish, because I was only on a short contract in Belgium, they said, oh, is there any chance you'd like to come back and open up the restaurant with us? So I moved back to Australia, moved to Melbourne, and started up an amazing restaurant called Josie Bones, where we specialised in beer and food pairing. So it was just using, you know, I already did all the food and wine pairing, and so it was just tweaking my palate to change it to pairing it with food, which is fascinating and so much more fun than wine. Well, I still love wine. So there's a good saying,
yeah.
It takes a lot of good wine to make good beer.
Oh yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, but so I started learning how to pair food with beer, which is wonderful because beer is endless in what it can be. It can be flat, it can be really fizzy, it can be in between, it can be bitter, it can be sweet, it can be blends, it can have this sourness, you know, it can be really funky. You can put anything you want in a beer, where a Shiraz is a Shiraz, and there's so much variety within that Shiraz, but it's still a Shiraz, you know, that sort of thing. And obviously there's lots of blends and things, but, you know, there is so much limitations where beer just has this, you know, absolute monstrosity of flavours that you can have. And so I just absolutely love learning how to pair beer and food. But from that, we actually started a little brew project, because there was just things that we were missing in the Australian market that we went, well, no one else is making them, so let's start making them. So we started up a little brew project on the side of the restaurant as well. And that's when I met Christian and then moved to Denmark. But it was actually this style of beers I fell in love with when I was living in Belgium. When I was there for the first time, that was when I was drinking lambic, and for me, I was just like, this was just fascinating. It was eye-opening, and that's when I sort of started actually studying it and reading about it and looking into it and going to these breweries and finding out what they were doing. And so when we moved to Bornholm, we sort of, you know, we're like, okay, 2 brewers, what are we going to do? And we sort of went, and we started looking at lots of different locations around the island, and eventually found this place. And we realised it was big enough to be able to bring all of the beer here production over, as well as start up Penyllan. Because I was like, if I'm going to do this, I want to try these sort of beers. But up until my first Penyllan beer, I had not brewed a barrel-aged sour beer.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. I mean, Christian has, and so I had an incredible mentor with him. But, you know, that was my Nina, which was my first one that I brewed the first day we opened, the first day we started brewing here, which was obviously a pretty stressful day trying to use this wonderful brewery, as you've seen.
Yeah. It's a MacGyver brewery.
It is a MacGyver brewery. But that was my first one, and, you know, playing with wild yeast, you know, tasting the base yeast that we collected from under the apple tree, sort of thinking, is this going to work? It was a massive gamble, because obviously that first year all we did was...
So much could go wrong.
Everything could go wrong. And it could have just been shit.
Yeah.
That's, excuse my language, but it could have just been really bad.
Yeah.
But, you know, the base yeast I actually thought had some really nice characteristics. And I had tasted unfermented or like just newly inoculated lambics before as well. And so I was like, oh, okay, I think this yeast could be actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then just brewed a whole lot of beer and
gambled. Pray to the gods.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
beer.
Please do. What
If we
is
need to
Ninkasi
reference
and-
a beer here, beer, you made the hymn for Ninkasi. That was
Yes,
an
exactly.
old
The hymn
beer
for
hymn.
Ninkasi. Yep, exactly. and so yeah, and then it took 3 years to release anything, and it was a very funny couple of years because when we first started, we didn't really tell anyone what we were doing, and then when we started telling people, everyone was like, "Oh, you guys are going to rock this." Of course, we started going, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh my God, this is going to be really amazing. And then we're like, will it?
You're putting a
and
lot
so
of pressure
we really,
on
yeah,
us.
exactly. And so we really had this up and down 3 years of feeling very secure and very like, yeah, what we're going to do is going to be sensational, to, oh my God, we're going to fail. No one's going to like our beer. We're going to be stuck with, all of this beer that no one's ever going to buy. And we did that for 3 years until we packaged our first 4. And when they were getting close to being, they'd finished the re-fermentation and they were getting close to the finishing of the conditioning time. And we got that, we got the cockiness again. And like, no, do you know what? This is actually really good. We were unsure if anyone was going to buy it because it was very different to a lot of the sour beers that are on the market, because we don't go all out sour. When I'm blending these, I really want you to be able to taste a nice balance. So you get the barrel characteristics, you get the if I've put fruit in there, you get the actual base wort that I've put in there, and the yeast and everything. So I want you to be able to have all of those flavors when you taste it. And so it just wasn't the trend when it came to wild fermented or sour.
Yeah,
beers.
people were into the sour back
Really,
in the
really
day
sour.
compared to now. Like, I really like some good balance on like all the different kinds of wild and sour beers these days, which is, you can see that it's maturing.
It really is, because it did go through the stage where anyone that was doing sours, the goal was how sour can I get this, and sort of I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. I really want to make balanced beers, but also because I wanted them to be also going back to the food and beer pairing.
Yeah.
You need a really balanced beer to be able to have with food. And these, like all of the Penyllan beers, are just incredible beers to pair with food, just to really change what dishes are like. So
I think wild beers are some of the best food beers.
Very much so.
To be honest.
Yeah.
I think IPAs, a lot of people always talk about, IPA with a curry and all these things, but I'm not sure if I'm 100% sold on it. IPA is good with pizza.
Yeah,
It's good
exactly.
with burgers, more like street food, junk food.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think beers like this are better with like more elegant dishes.
Yeah.
Like, this is something where you can definitely pair better. Like where you could actually switch out the wine and then
Exactly.
serve something wild instead. You just need to convince people that you can as well, because I think there's still a little bit of a mindset in some people, at least in Denmark, where we're based.
Yeah. Oh,
that
I think it's
like-
everywhere in the world. It's
Yeah.
still, people want that
They need to-
wine and food pairing.
Yeah.
But what's really nice now is, especially I worked with a lot of really beautiful restaurants in Denmark, that I, really teach them about this sort of styles and how to pair this sort of beer with food. And I think the mentality, especially amongst sommeliers, is changing, that they now sort of open their palates to beer as well.
Yeah.
Which I think for many years, sommeliers' palates were very closed. They sort of, if it wasn't wine, they weren't using everything to taste.
Yeah.
And I had a little go at them. I did a tasting with a group of 30 of Denmark's top sommeliers a few years ago. And I had a little go at them and sort of say, oh guys, I want you to taste this like you're going to be drinking like a beautiful Jura, like a nice little sparkling this, and you could just sort of see them going, but this is beer. And I'm like, wait for it. Wait for it. And it was wonderful, because from that tasting, about half an hour later, I got called into Alchemist saying, Jess, can you come and have a chat to all of our chefs and the rest of our sommeliers to tell them about your beers and stuff. And from that, it meant that I ended up having one of my beers on the wine pairing menu at Alchemist when they first opened.
Which
is pretty cool.
Very cool
Yeah.
start. Because that's a very renowned restaurant.
Exactly, which is like people know about that one. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
if I
yeah.
need to mention a restaurant.
Alchemist.
But
is
obviously on the island we've got Cadeau, I work really closely with those guys. We supply all their beers. And what I do at the start of every season, we'll go to the restaurant quite early on, and we'll do the full wine pairing menu, we'll do the full juice pairing menu, and then I'll bring all of the Penyllan beers that I have available to actually sell them, to see if I can beat the wine pairing menu.
Oh, nice.
And so, I'll taste them, and we'll be sitting there and we'll taste the wine and we'll taste the juice, because the juice pairings that they make are incredible. And then I'll sort of go, okay, I see what you're doing here, and I'll find out what the dish is, and then go, okay, let's just try a little bit of Elisa or whatever else. And this year was the first year that I actually 100% found one of my beers that was better than the wine, because it was 2 dishes, and it was a rosé, and we tried it with Elisa actually. And it was one of those ones where the rosé was a really beautiful pairing, but then we had a little glass of this, and it was just one of those, and then of course the second dish came, we're like, oh God, is it gonna, we're like, work with the second dish as well, because that's where we haven't got there in the past, is it would work so beautifully with one of the dishes the wine was paired to, but not the other one.
Yeah.
And this one was just beautiful. So they're actually looking at possibly putting it on their wine pairing menu instead.
That's also something you see happening a bit in the fine dining world, slowly gravitating into beer. But it seems a lot of places it's the wild stuff that they're interested in.
Yeah.
Also because I think it often makes more sense.
I think it just makes more sense with food a lot of the time. So.
But if we sidestep for a bit, so you're brewing both clean and wild beer here.
Yeah.
So beer here, if you know beer here, you've been in the beer scene for a while, I'm sure most of you people will know it. I've done videos with Christian in the past. And
he has been
around
around for a while.
Over here.
He's just drinking out the front.
He's just hanging out and drinking. So you're brewing both of the beer here beers, and you're brewing the wild Penyllan beers. Yeah. That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, do you know what? I have to say, I think I think every brewer sort of says, our job is actually just glorified cleaners.
Yeah.
It is, being able to say brewer, you're just saying, I'm a glorified cleaner. That is my main job. And I think we take that to a whole other level. We use all of the same. We're one of the very few breweries anywhere in the world that will actually do clean beers and wild stuff on all the same system. But it does mean that inside of our tanks, our bottling machines, all of our equipment, which we use for everything. We don't have different things other than stuff that I only use for barrels. But we actually, use all the same equipment for everything, which means we take cleaning to a plus level. I really feel sorry for anyone who works for us, because as I was saying before, I'm always like, oh, I see what you're doing there. Clean it again, because it's just.
You want to be as positive as you can that nothing's going to
but I think in all the years, so what we started back here in 2015, and since then I think maybe we've had 4 infected beers.
Okay, that's pretty impressive.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And one of them was, I don't even know if there was a Penyllan in the tank before, but the spray ball was really blocked, and it just no one realised. And so it's actually quite, to get infected. We've had beers that we don't like, that we have poured down the drain or hasn't worked out for other reasons, but they haven't been infected.
Yeah.
And so it's quite a.
I know the struggle. I mean, once in a while we've had something happen, like a cooler malfunctions. Then the beer rises to 40 degrees, and then you're trying. It's like, we can't save this.
Yeah, it's like we can't.
This is very off flavored.
Yeah. But things happen. But to only having a small amount of actually cross infection is pretty cool when you've got Brett and Acetobacter and Lactobacillus and all of that stuff in there.
Yeah. So making these kind of beers, do you have like a dream collab? Is there someone you would love to do a blend with, or like make a recipe with?
Do you know what? At some stage, I'm going to break Kirsten Eltz from De Dolle.
Okay.
Actually, love those guys, and obviously,
Oh yeah. This was not planned. I wore this short yesterday. Cantillon.
But Christian's fine. He says I'm allowed to prostitute myself out for all sorts of fun collabs. No, but I'm actually quite fussy. I pretty much say no to collabs altogether. unless they're people that do these sort of beers. So the only
Makes sense.
one that I've done actually with a brewery has been Jester King, because they shipped in their wild yeast. I built it up, and we did primary fermentation on their yeast and secondary on my yeast once it went into the barrels. And so, yeah, that's the only one I've done. Other than that, I've done collaborations like how I do it with the Snaps producer, or I've just done one with Cadeau, and they collected a whole lot of these beautiful Japanese quince that grow on the island. So wild Japanese quince, they're these tiny little, like a tiny quince, but they almost taste and smell like yuzu fruit.
Oh, wow, that sounds
It's
weird.
really amazing.
Nice.
And this is a Danish thing. It's like, wow, you're getting these beautiful citrusy flavors from something here.
Yeah.
And so I've just packaged that, which is pretty exciting.
Nice.
So I get asked for collaborations a lot, but I just sort of went, I've got to draw a line. I sort of went, I'm going to do it with people who know and specialize in these sort of beers as well.
Yeah.
And obviously we might go over and brew with Sean at Hill Farmstead soon, but he's
That
also...
would be a dream collab,
Well,
too.
he's actually a very old friend, and he's already
Yeah.
brewed with Christian, so he's loose with collabs.
I mean,
you know,
if you know anything about Danish beer history, he was brewing in Denmark before he started.
yeah,
Farmstead.
exactly.
So he knows a lot of the old school Danish brewers from around the country.
Yeah, exactly. So we've actually got old collaborations between Christian, my Christian, and Peter from... it was back then, it was now Paul, but Flying Couch Peter, and Sean from back in the day, also with Jan Paul from Sveniger.
Oh,
So,
wow.
because this is old friends, and Jan still goes over, and we all go over and visit once in a while. So,
Well, that's very awesome. Well, I think so far what you've been producing here has been fantastic.
thank you so much.
I'm really looking forward to see what the future will bring with all the barrels you have in there, with all that old
there's
stuff.
So
Wow.
much good stuff.
I mean, the layers you can create when you have beers that old, I mean, that's crazy.
I think the really exciting is at the moment is now I've got this incredible library of beers, which means that when I am blending a beer, I get to sort of go, oh, do you know what, this is amazing, but what I need is a little bit of sweetness or bitterness and stuff. And now I just have this huge variety of beers that I can go, I have that barrel, I have that barrel. And so now it's really fun. You know, now it's really fun. And I have to say this year I'm going to be packaging a lot of beers. Because I haven't been releasing much up until now, but this year I'm going to be packaging a lot. So if everything goes my way, end of this year to next year, I'm going to have a lot more variety, which would be
That's
a
gonna be really
lot of
cool.
fun.
I mean, that's a bright future ahead, I think, for all the new stuff coming out from here. Lovely, great place. If you're ever on Bornholm, you need to go here. How is your opening hours? I mean, you're of course opening for
In
the
summertime,
season.
In summertime, we open every day
Yeah.
from sort of 11 till 19, plus or minus. In wintertime, we open, like all year, we open every Saturday, all year round. Mainly it's locals and us and a couple of friends sitting here getting drunk together. We put a fire pit out the front, and it's absolutely freezing in here because the brewery can't be heated. But do you know what people are like? We're going out. It's a Saturday. We're going to the brewery.
wear
And
warm
everyone will
clothes.
still come down and they'll drink, we make a lovely ulgluk, like a beer gluck.
Keep yourself warm.
And we keep ourselves very warm. We can't drive home after that. That's the problem. But and then obviously we just sort of say, in the off season, if the flag's out, we're open. If the lights are on, we're open because we're brewing here all year, anyway.
And where can people find you on social media?
Okay. There's me. I'm under Penyllan Barrel Mistress on Instagram. There's Penyllan Brewery on Instagram and Facebook. There's nothing on Twitter. I'm too old for Twitter.
It's also called X now. So
Oh, okay. Wait, but isn't Facebook called something else now as well? It's Meta?
the company
Or is
behind it, Meta.
Right. Okay. So
Elon Musk bought
anyway,
Twitter and
Facebook
changed the
and that one, and obviously if you're on Bornholm, we also have we've got a tiny little bar in Rønne called De Mernel Sild, which I can't even say, even though
I think that was pretty decent.
and thank you very much.
Then my Neil,
That one, where these guys are having a pop-up tomorrow. There we go. And so it's a tiny, tiny little bar, but it's our little joy place in the corner.
Yeah.
We love
Yeah.
our little bar.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
And that
in a
opens
couple
all
days.
year as well. So
Nice.
because that has heating.
Oh yeah, and that's what we like.
That's a
in the
nice thing
winter.
in winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially on an island, I bet it gets cold here.
Do you know what? It's actually warmer here than the mainland because of the island climate. And so it's actually generally much nicer weather here than the mainland.
So maybe we should get people to go to Bornholm in wintertime and do tours.
Wintertime's beautiful.
I
over here.
imagine wintertime at all the scenic places with the snow would be
Yeah,
very nice.
it's incredible. And also now there's so many more places that open up all year round,
Ah, right.
which is a big thing because when we
not
moved
just
here, I'll rephrase that. There's a lot of places that we actually want to go to that open all year round.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places that do open all year round, but a lot of them I would never want to eat at.
Okay.
Where a lot of our actually favourite places to eat at any time of the year opens all year. Even if it's only like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or 2 days a week or something, but they will still open. So that's really exciting now because they're people that live here anyway, so they're like,
Might as well.
we might as well open. So yeah.
Well, if you guys ever find yourself on Bornholm, come visit Penyllan.
Come say hi.
And beer here.
Yes.
And beer
exactly.
here as well.
Yeah.
If you want the clean stuff, IPAs, lagers, Belgian beers even, that's your jam.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
And then if you want
The
all
man knows how to
the,
brew.
the wild, the crazy stuff here, you go to Penyllan.
Then you come speak to me.
Yeah.
I'm always around.
Yeah.
I'll be the drunk one sitting in the corner. It's fair.
Well, thanks a ton for your time, Jess.
Pleasure.
This
Cheers.
was fun. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
And see you guys on Bornholm maybe. Cheers.
Yay.